The Middle East was standing on the edge of another explosion. That's right, warships were moving, drones were flying, missile defense they were being activated, and behind closed doors military rooms, planners were preparing for what could have been another dangerous confrontation between the United States and Iran. But then really something unexpected happened. Washington did not push the trigger this time. Instead, it pressed the pause button. According to diplomatic sources from the Arab world, the US has quietly agreed to a major Iranian demand, a decision that may have stopped a fresh military escalation, at least for now. And ladies and gentlemen, that decision, it revolves around one sensitive word: nuclear talks. You're watching Times XP. It's me, Dhriti Yatri, and let's just understand what really changed here. Well, the US and Iran, they were planning to hold crucial discussions about Iran's nuclear program. These talks, they were originally expected to happen in Turkey, but Iran had a very different preference. Iran wanted the negotiations to be lifted to Oman, a country that has historically played the role of quiet mediator between rivals in the Middle East, and now Washington has reportedly agreed to that. Well, this might sound like a small diplomatic adjustment, right? But in geopolitics, venue do matters, trust matters, symbolism matters. You know why Oman? Because Oman is seen as a neutral ground. It has maintained relationships with both Iran and Western nations. In fact, in the past, Oman secretly helped the US and Iran open communication channels that eventually led to the 2015 nuclear agreement. So by agreeing to Oman, the United States, well, they are sending a signal that says that we are still willing to talk. And wait, here's where the story becomes even more intense. The talks are expected to bring two key figures face to face: US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. If the meeting happens, it will mark the first direct engagement since their last negotiation collapse after a brief but intense war phase last year. That conflict included military strikes, cyber attacks, and targeted hits on Iranian nuclear-linked facilities. In fact, trust between the two sides, it was almost destroyed, but the danger, it never disappeared. Even while diplomacy is being discussed right now, the US is strengthening its military presence in the Gulf region. Warships have been repositioned, air defense systems have been upgraded, surveillance missions have increased. Washington is clearly preparing for both possibilities here: peace or confrontation. And then came a strong warning from the US President Donald Trump. Trump reportedly said that if negotiation fails, bad things could happen. Now, that single phrase has sent shockwaves across the diplomatic circles because it hints that military action is still very much on the table. In the end, let's talk about the nuclear deal itself. Why is this so important? Well, Iran says its nuclear program is meant for peaceful energy developments. The US and its allies, they are not fully convinced though. They fear that Iran could move closer to building a nuclear weapon, something Israel calls an existential threat. Now, if Iran becomes a nuclear-capable country, the entire Middle East power balance, it can change overnight. Well, that is why past agreements try to limit Iran's nuclear activity in exchange for economic relief and removal of the sanctions. But previous deals all collapsed. Sanctions returned, hostility increased, and military confrontation slowly followed. Today, both the sides are exhausted, but they are very cautious. Iran is struggling under heavy economic sanction. Its currency has weakened. In fact, foreign investment has shrunk. Domestic pressure is rising. And in the meantime, the US is dealing with growing instability across multiple global conflict zones. Opening another full-scale Middle East war, it could carry massive economic and political cost.